Hello and welcome back to On the Couch. Once again, I'm Benny Pinella.
And I'm Maria Brasco.
Oppression is still a major hurdle we have as a society to overcome.
For many, it is hard to understand how much someone from a different ethnicity or sexual orientation go through on a daily basis.
The Rowan Tunnel of Oppression looks to lend insight on ways we as a society can rid oppressive behavior. And here to talk about the tunnel is Danielle Simzik, a graduate intern of the Tunnel of Oppression. Danielle, thank you very much for appearing on the show today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Well, first things first, many people might not understand what the Tunnel of Oppression actually is. I know you talked off camera about what it is. I'm still a little bit confused. So can you tell the viewers what exactly the Tunnel of Oppression is?
The Tunnel of Oppression is exactly that. We construct a tunnel and we have actors that are usually student leaders who act out skits that are surrounded by and based on oppressive acts. So you may or may not see a skit about sexual assault or one about racially charged arguments or racism in general, just outwardly on the street, or even the Westboro Baptist Church. There's usually a skit that portrays some of their actions. And it's meant to enlighten and inspire the audience to change that kind of behavior and change the way they think about that kind of behavior.
I actually read a study, I forget where it was from, but it was saying that you're more likely to switch roommates if you are opposite races versus if you're the same race. Do you have a lot of people that aren't used to interacting with opposite races? Is that something you guys deal with often?
I would say quite a bit in my experience, yes. Rowan is a predominantly white institution, and when students come here, it may be their first time experiencing diverse groups of people, so that can be a challenge for them. And the office that I work in, the Office of Social Justice, Inclusion, and Conflict Resolution, sorry, that's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful.
We generally look to try to correct that behavior and just make people more aware that their actions have a certain impact to it.
Now, in the mission statement, it says the tunnel invokes reflective thought, feeling, and emotion. How is this achieved? Because you talked about it a little bit, but what I thought is there's going to be segments where people are just yelling things at you. Is that still something that's done?
That is definitely something that is still done. Unfortunately, in the world, things like that happen, and so the tunnel is meant to, I guess, bring out the worst and really shine light to some of these hateful and horrendous acts. And the viewers are in no physical harm, but they really do get to experience some of that. So for example, the Westboro Baptist Church is notorious for picketing and slandering soldiers' names and spewing profanities, and that is a taste of something that you can expect from the tunnel this year.
Now you guys are having Inclusion Week, right, which is April 13th?
Yep.
What kind of activities will you be doing?
We will have the tunnel to kickstart Inclusion Week. However, we will also have a African art exhibit in the pit later on in the week, and we also have different days designated for specific underrepresented groups. So we will have a LGBTQ plus community oriented day where we will have speakers come and shine light on that in certain workshops. But we also have a day set aside for women and other minorities and underrepresented groups.
Now this is the flyer here. You want to tell us a little bit about the flyer?
Some of these things that are within the tunnel are some of the topics that you can expect to see in the tunnel this year. So we will definitely touch upon ableism, racism, sexism, homophobia, and all of that in between.
Now these are very, very important things, and you see all this stuff happening in the news constantly. So it's a very important thing to happen. Why do you personally think this is very important?
I think it's important because we live in our own little bubble, and sometimes you just get so far into the rhythm of your day that you don't think so much about what's happening outside and even abroad. So I think the tunnel is super important because it shines light to some of those things that occur not just outside of our Rowan community, but across the seas as well.
Now, we as people in society, and especially in this society today, everyone has experienced oppressive things. What's been your personal experience?
I think I think when I experience or when I view oppressive behavior, it's more so about how I then react to it and the steps that I take to address it. So rather than getting heated in the moment and really trying to correct it then and there, and when tensions may be raised and flared, I think it's more about educating those involved. So I usually, and in my line of work, I see a lot of that. Thankfully, not so much on this campus, but usually another mission of our office is to then mediate the situation afterwards. So we try to get that.
Once again, the event is from April 13th to April 17th. It's Inclusion Week. One last thing, if students want to get involved, how do they contact the group?
They can definitely stop by our office. We are in Robinson, room 118. They can also email myself or Dr. Mills. He's the director of multicultural programming.
Well, Danielle, thank you very much for appearing on the show once again. And we'll be right back with more On the Couch coming up after the break.